It's 11 p.m. live from Kuching, Sarawak. You're now with me, Douglas Elliott, for TVS Nightline. The headlines. Young Dipertua Negeri Tun Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar has been conferred the state's highest award, the Darjah Utama Yang Amat Mulia Satra Bintang Sarawak, which carries the title PEHIN Sri. Sarawak to adopt precision farming to boost food security and reduce reliance on imported food. And the transition to clean energy requires supportive policies and investments to encourage the development and adoption of renewable energy technologies. Good evening. Head of State Tun Dr. Wan Junaidi Tuanku Jaafar has been conferred the state's highest award, the Darjah Utama Yang Amat Mulia Satria Bintang Sarawak, which carries the title PEHIN Sri. The award was presented by the Premier of Sarawak, Datuk Petinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, representing the state government at an investiture ceremony at Astana Negeri. At the ceremony, Deputy Premier Dato' Amar Awang Tengah Ali Hassan read out the key achievements of Wan Junaidi, who had served as Dewan Negara President, Federal Minister and Deputy Minister, and Dewan Rakyat Deputy Speaker.
Throughout his tenure as Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Tun Dr. Wan Junaidi led a series of significant legislative achievements that reshaped the political landscape. From spearheading 3 transformative amendments to the federal constitution to pioneering the groundbreaking anti-hopping law, his leadership was marked by a relentless pursuit of progress and reform. Additionally, he streamlined the voter registration process for 18-year-olds excluding royal institution and played a pivotal role in integrating the Malaysian Agreement 1963 into ongoing negotiation between the federal government and the Sarawak and Sabah government.
Wan Junaidi is the 5th recipient of the award after former Sarawak governors, the late Tun PEHIN Sri Abdul Taib Mahmud and the late Tun PEHIN Sri Abang Muhammad Salahuddin Abang Baryang, former Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, and former Sarawak Chief Minister, the late PEHIN Sri Adinan Satem. Sarawak is set to capitalize on its FMD-free status, given the severity and contagious nature of foot and mouth disease FMD, which affects livestock. Minister of Food, Industry, Commodity and Regional Development MFICO Sarawak, Dato' Sri Dr. Stephen Rundi Utom, unveiled plans for the ministry, including a series of visits to study meat production in Taiwan, the Philippines and Australia.
Borneo, especially is FMD free. So FMD free is very attractive. It's not easy status to be obtained, but because of that, therefore, people are willing to collaborate with us. And in fact, we are planning to go to even Brazil, as far as Brazil. So Cabinet is agreed, and so on the 6th of March, I'll be visiting Taiwan. And then we have planned to go to Philippines, Australia, and so on. The reason is to really study and to have to share with them, and they share with us the experience, so that we will not repeat the same mistake, or we learn the fast track. And apparently, the few areas that we have, a few countries that we have visited, Holland, and then Thailand, and also Indonesia.
According to Rundi, Sarawak is still recognized as FMD-free without vaccination by the World Animal Health Organization. FMD is an acute but highly contagious viral infection affecting both domestic and wild cloven-hoofed animals, which include cattle, buffalo, domesticated deer, goat, sheep, as well as wild boar and deer. The disease spreads from animal to animal through nasal discharges, contaminated feeds, beddings, and other fomites. In similar development, the Ministry of Food, Industry, Commodity and Regional Development and PEHIN Sarawak is keen to explore precision farming practices in Brunei to boost food security by 2030. Its Minister, Dato Sri Dr. Stephen Rundi Utom, emphasized the importance of adopting such approaches, particularly in paddy cultivation, to ensure sufficient supply of the staple food items and for potential exports.
Actually, tomorrow I'll be visiting Brunei and looking at their precision farming, the design, how they do it, and so on. And I was given to understand they have some success in that part that will be adopted here. And we have actually agro park, SATEC, and the rest are like precision farming. Once we be able to improve our production, the question now is to be able to create a complete supply chain from upstream, R&D and so on, production, marketing and downstream.
He said this to reporters after receiving a courtesy call from Brunei's Minister of Industry and Primary Resources, Dato Dr. Haji Abdul Manaf Haji Matusin, and his delegates at Waterfront Hotel earlier today. For the record, the Sarawak government has approved 90 million ringgit under the alternative funding to establish 3 precision farming parks at Rampangi in Kuching, Sungai Sibiu in Bintulu, and Kapulu in Miri. The projects are currently in the planning stage and the construction is expected to commence by the 4th quarter of this year. These farms will focus on the cultivation of high-value vegetables such as tomatoes, chilies, ginger, and shallots. Still on rise, the move to increase the floor price of paddy purchase from 750 ringgit to 1,800 ringgit by the state government is aimed at incentivizing paddy farmers to up their production in order to reduce reliance on imported rice. According to the State Director of Rice and Paddy Monitoring Sarawak, Nur Anizan Razali, the move is also part of a self-sufficiency strategy to safeguard the region's food security.
Untuk memastikan industri padi dekat Sarawak ni untuk terus kekal mampan lah untuk daya saing selaras dengan inspirasi kementerian kan untuk meningkatkan pengeluaran beras Malaysia dan untuk mengurangkan pengantungan kepada import lah. Di Sarawak ni kita bergantung kepada lebih kurang 70% beras import lah.
She added the paddy price subsidy scheme worth 500 ringgit is another incentive provided to farmers to cultivate their lands for paddy farming.
Sekarang ni yang tinggal di Sarawak ni saya tengok yang menanam padi ni kebanyakannya yang warga-warga tua lah. Jadi dengan penetapan harga minimum ni sebenarnya kerajaan persekutuan dan juga kerajaan negeri Sarawak sendiri dia sebenarnya untuk menarik petani dan juga pesawah-pesawah kat Sarawak ni menanam padi. Sebab sebelum ni banyak padi yang ditanam tu adalah padi-padi variety special lah, speciality macam Vario, Adan yang beras-beras tu lah. Untuk 1,300 ni untuk makluman adalah penetapan minimum belian padi beras putih. Bukan beras bukan beras tradisional bukan.
The transition to clean energy requires supportive policies and investments to encourage the development and adoption of renewable energy technologies. At the inaugural Borneo Energy Transition Conference BETC 2024, which culminated on Tuesday, meeting of the minds took place as green industry players and financial sectors convened at the event organized by SEDC Energy, SEDC. In his opening address, Premier of Sarawak Dato' Petinggi Tan Sri Abang Johari Tun Oping said that despite the high costs, the Sarawak government took a bold step by venturing into the development of renewable energies such as hydrogen, which he believes will yield returns in the future.
That's why the Sarawak government took a bold step to produce hydrogen. We have a mini plant producing hydrogen, though the cost is high. Actually, people was asking why this Abang Jo want to produce hydrogen is very costly. But sometimes you have to take the risk. It's nothing is simple. You know you have the resources, so you take a risk.
Similar views were echoed by industry players who are confident that the technological cost to generate renewable energy will be reduced in the future.
Green energy may not be straight away generating the kind of revenues, but in the longer run, that's good for the environment, and there's a lot of cost savings.
At the same time, Chief Executive Officer of Invest Sarawak, Timothy Ong, noted a supportive financial ecosystem and transparent policies will facilitate the development of the green energy industry and attract investment opportunities into the country.
That when you start to not be transparent about things, investors will know it, and then once they know it, the credibility of that whole setup is compromised.
I think there are a number of investment opportunities coming up, and one of the biggest consideration that everyone is talking about is how supportive will be the financial institution in Malaysia to support this agenda. And once we have those ecosystem being supported, I think we will be able to see our agenda flourishing, especially not only for Malaysia but also for Sarawak.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Energy and Environmental Sustainability, Dato Dr. Hazlan Abang Hipni, in his closing remarks, said the clean energy transition requires synergy and the backing from large corporations.
So Sarawak has the solution to mitigate climate change, at least for this part of the world, because we have both the natural-based solution and also the technical-based solution. I must emphasize the pivotal role of the financing sector in translating our objectives into reality.
Among the highlights of the two-day conference include the exchange of 3 important documents between SEDC Energy through the Heads of Agreement HOA with Juntari Sendirian Berhad, the Joint Development Agreement with Samsung Engineering Lotte Chemical and Korean National Oil Corporation, as well as the partnership with Sarawak Metro to develop Rembus H2 plant. BETC 2024, co-organized by SEDC Energy and Mark Ratings Berhad, took place for its second installment in 2026.
Our intention is to get the experts from the technology side together with the experts and industry players from the financial institution. For the past few years that SEDC SETC has been working on this, so we realized that both sides don't really fully understand each other yet. Okay, so that hence why we arranged this.
Right, we'll be taking a short break. Coming up right after, no final decision on SST hike for electricity and water, and Gaza death tolls near 30,000. Right here on TVS Nightline, stay tuned. There is an urgent need to build a mini fire station in the Lubuk Antu area, specifically to expedite firefighting efforts in rural areas, including those in longhouses. Lubuk Antu MP Roy Angau Ginkoi believes that with this facility, it can help speed up firefighting efforts in remote areas far from urban centres, thus reducing dependence on existing fire stations.
Bagi tahun 2024 ini, saya berhasrat untuk membina sebuah bomber ataupun kita call it mini bomber sebab sejak ke belakang ini kerap berlakunya kebakaran di kawasan-kawasan rumah panjang. Apatah lagi rumah-rumah panjang yang lama, yang usianya agak lama, yang dibina daripada kayu. So itulah salah satu harapan saya agar bandar bomba ini dapat dibina di Lubuk Antu, dapat serba sedikit membantu rakyat-rakyat di Lubuk Antu daripada ditimpa musibah.
He said this in an interview with TVS after the Dewan Rakyat session in Kuala Lumpur earlier today.
The term Malaysia Merdeka, often used during the celebration of National Day on August 31st, needs to be corrected, as the expression is inappropriate. Sri Aman MP Dato Sri Doris Sophia Brody said this is because Malaysia as a sovereign nation has never been colonized by any power after its formation on September 16, 1963.
In an interview with TVS, Doris Sophia said that she would often receive messages or wishes of Malaysia Merdeka on August 31st.
Mana boleh kita sebut Malaysia merdeka, walhal Malaysia tidak pernah merdeka. Kita tidak pernah dijajah oleh mana-mana negara atau siapa-siapa pun. Jadi istilah Malaysia merdeka itu tak tepat sama sekali. 31 bulan Ogos adalah hari kebangsaan bagi kita meraihkan kepelbagaian kita.
Doris Sophia added that the younger generation may be confused or have a lack of understanding about the true meaning of Independence Day and Malaysia Day.
26 September tahun 1963 adalah Hari Malaysia bagi mengingati tertubuhnya sebuah negara berdaulat iaitu Malaysia. Mungkin mereka keliru sebab 1957 pada 31 Ogos itu adalah hari hari kemerdekaan tanah Melayu daripada jajahan British. That was 31 hari bulan Ogos 1957. Dan bagi North Borneo ataupun Sabah, 31 hari bulan Ogos adalah hari Sabah. Sebab mereka pada 1963, 31 Ogos 1963, diberi peluang untuk mentadbir sendiri oleh British.
The Madani government is open to any suggestions from the Coalition for Clean and Fair Elections, or BETC, in reforming institutions and enhancing the electoral process. Prime Minister Dato Sri Anwar Ibrahim said that several suggestions by the group had already taken under consideration.
Anwar was presented with a memorandum by the leadership of BETC, headed by Muhammad Faisal Abdul Aziz in Putrajaya on Wednesday. The Prime Minister emphasized the importance of dialogue and the exchange of viewpoints in comprehending the aspirations of civil society and the governmental challenges, particularly those highlighted in the memorandum. He added that hearing viewpoints from an entity like BETC can further enhance the relationship between the government and the public, especially in the country's democratic process. Moreover, during his meeting with BETC, Anwar underscored the significance of enhancing political education and fostering greater political literacy among the populace as steps towards improving the landscape of Malaysian politics.
The government has not made a decision on the exemption of water and electricity bills from the planned sales and service tax SST hike, which is expected to start in March, as several pertinent issues still persist that require further refinement, including those who are entitled to the exemption.
That will be discussed. Definitely for some areas, I think the government will have a look at it. Yeah. There's no final decision yet, but that will be some of the areas we're looking at, who are entitled to exemption as far as SST is concerned. In particular, the utility companies and so on, because otherwise it goes back to the people.
Fadila also added his ministry was evaluating several proposals related to large-scale floating solar power supply schemes. When asked on whether the matter will be brought up during the upcoming cabinet meeting, Fadila, who is also the Energy Transition and Water Transformation Minister, said the Ministry of Finance is looking at the overall situation right now. From March 1, the SST rate for most services, including overseas-based digital services, will increase from the current 6% to 8%. Currently, only food and beverage, telecommunications and vehicle parking services have been given exemption from the tax hike. Previously untaxed services like karaoke outlets, delivery services, brokerage and underwriting services will now be subject to the SST. The increase in tax rates and taxable items was previously announced as part of taxation reforms in Budget 2024 last year, as part of the government's efforts to boost the country's financial resilience while reducing its budget deficit.
Microchips is the center of AI evolution. There is no really a proper mechanisms on place, proper engagement with the government and stakeholders.
But the microelectronic revolution, they are reducing, it's not a clean technology.
In our business, in our policy.
Don't forget to catch Dialogue TVS this Thursday at 8:45 p.m. only on TVS Channel 122.
In world news, Palestinian death toll near 30,000 on Wednesday as fighting continued in Gaza despite talks of a truce within a few days. The health ministry said that at least 91 people were killed overnight in an overnight bombardment as the assault entered its 145th day.
The Health Ministry also reported that the current count of injured people has also risen to over 70,325. Mediators from Egypt, Qatar, and the United States have been trying to find a path to a ceasefire amid the bitter fighting, with negotiators now seeking a 6-week pause in the nearly 5-month war. According to the United Nations, Israel has relentlessly bombarded the Gaza Strip, leading to the displacement of 85% of Gazans due to the Israeli onslaught. Additionally, residents of Gaza are now grappling with food insecurity as a consequence of this prolonged conflict. Hundreds of thousands of individuals are enduring life without shelter, and the flow of aid trucks into the territory is reduced to less than half of what it was before the conflict began.
A Russian court on Tuesday sentenced top human rights campaigner Oleg Orlov to 2.5 years in jail for denouncing Russia's assault on Ukraine. The 70-year-old, a key figure of the Nobel Prize-winning Memorial Group, is the latest target of Kremlin repression, which has intensified since the offensive in Ukraine.
As the judge read the verdict, the bespectacled, white-haired activist winked at his wife, fellow activist Tatiana. He was taken into custody in the courtroom and asked Tatiana to come over. Around 200 supporters were waiting in the corridor outside the courtroom to bid him goodbye. Orlov had told AFP in a recent interview that he held no illusions on the outcome of the trial. Orlov was accused of discrediting the Russian army in the column written for the French online publication Mediapart and fined in October after a first trial. The fine was relatively lenient punishment, and prosecutors called for a new trial. Even as other campaigners fled the growing repression, Orlov remained in Russia, where he was said he was more useful than abroad. Memorial established itself as a key pillar of Russian civil society by preserving the memory of victims of communist repression and by campaigning against rights violations. The organization was officially disbanded by Russian authorities in late 2021, and it won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2022, alongside leading Ukrainian rights group and a veteran Belarusian activist.
Two candidates for mayor of Maravato Municipal in the Mexican state of Michoacan were killed hours apart on Monday. The deceased were Armando Perez Luna, a preliminary candidate of the PEHIN party, and Miguel Angel Reyes Zavala, who aspired to be the candidate of President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador's Morena party.
According to reports from the State Prosecutor's Office, Armando Perez Luna has been shot dead while driving a car just hours after Miguel Angel Zavala Reyes, who has been the victim of an armed attack outside a local hospital and died of his wounds. Testimonies collected by investigators showed that two hitmen opened fire at point-blank range before fleeing in a car. Leaders of the parties represented by the killed candidates condemned the violence and demanded an explanation of all the circumstances. Mexican politicians, particularly at the local level, frequently fall victim to bloodshed connected to corruption and a multi-billion-dollar narcotics trade. Attacks usually increased in the run-up to elections. General elections in Mexico are scheduled to be held on June 2, with campaigning starting next Friday.
See the world closer with TVS as we bring you the latest news updates, both locally and internationally. Up-to-the-minute headlines are now available at our website, tvsarawak.my, or follow us on our social media. And those were the updates on TVS Nightline. I'm Douglas Elliott. Thank you for watching and have a good night.